It was the first evening of December, and the sky had the quiet glow that comes just before night. Snow drifted down in unhurried spirals, each flake turning once, twice, as if it wanted to show you its small shining face before it joined the whitening earth. The village by the frozen lake wore winter the way an old friend wears a familiar coat, comfortably, with pockets full of small, kind secrets. You arrive at the crest of the hill as the last pale band of daylight slips behind the spruce trees. From here, you see rooftops sloped like folded hands, chimneys exhaling thin blue ribbons of smoke, and window panes lit with soft gold. The lake is a broad, silent mirror, a sheet of brushed silver under an evening sky that deepens from pearl to indigo. Far across the ice, someone has placed a small lantern on a stump, and its little flame nods in the cold air, patient as a heartbeat. You take a step forward. The snow under your boots gives a gentle, steady sound. Crunch, 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 like hands smoothing clean sheets. Your breath blooms in small ghosts before you, then dissolves. The air is crisp, dry, and just cold enough to awaken your senses without biting. You can taste a mineral brightness to it, like the first sip of water from a mountain spring. As you descend the path, the scent of cinnamon and baked apples begins to drift between the houses. It threads through the sharper smells: pine resin, split oak stacked by the fences, the faint metallic note of snow, and it leads you toward a building with a low eave and an old hand-painted sign. The hearth and crust. In the bakery window, candles bob gently inside glass jars, and on the sill, someone has lined up 3 tiny clay birds, each with a dusting of flour on its beak. The bell over the door gives a soft tink when you enter. Warmth wraps around you immediately, like a wool blanket. Inside, the air is thick with the happiness of bread, yeasty, sweet, edged with butter. Loaves sit shoulder to shoulder on wooden racks, round, ridged boules, long baguettes with slashes that opened in the heat like smiling eyes, dark rye seeded with glints of caraway. A copper kettle hums quietly on a back flame. Somewhere behind the counter, someone is laughing in a low, contented way. "Welcome," says a voice, and an older woman steps forward, dusting her hands on her apron. Flour freckles her sleeves all the way to the elbows. Her hair is gathered in a loose bun, and a stray curl rests on her cheek. You look like the evening belongs to you. What will warm it best? Honey oat, apple loaf, or perhaps the cinnamon knots. Today they decided to be especially kind. You smile. The words move through you the way friendly light moves through a room. She slides a small plate across the counter with a single knot of dough on it, twisted into a little infinity shape, lacquered with sugar and cinnamon. When you break it open, steam rises, carrying out a warm, buttery perfume. You take a bite, and the outside gives the slightest crisp whisper before the inside yields. Soft, tender, sweet. A quiet spreads through your chest, like snow smoothing the lines of a field. "Take your time," she says, nodding toward a table by the window. "There's tea in the pot." It doesn't like to be alone. You pour a cup. The tea is amber and gentle, with a curl of orange peel and one clove floating its clean, evergreen scent into the warmth. The bell tinks again as you step back into the night. Outside, the world feels like a song carried on soft instruments. The quiet tap of snow on your coat, the faint clink of a gate latch somewhere down the lane, the tender hush of wind rubbing its shoulders against the spruce needles. You walk slowly, letting the rhythm of your steps match your breathing, letting your eyes rest on simple things, a frost pattern like ferns on a window pane, the way a lamplight spills in a perfect oval on the snow, the small, shy laugh from inside a house as a shadow passes across the curtain. Past the square and the old well, its stones dark with damp, you come to the door of the library. The sign above it reads Maple and Moonlight Lending, and in the window hangs a paper cut of a stag standing beneath dripping stars. Inside, the scent is leather and dust and old paper, with something faintly sweet, perhaps the bowls of peppermint candies set on the end tables. You push open the door and enter a soft-lit world of shelves and spines, the hush of pages turning, the low murmur of two people near the history section discussing a map. "Good evening," says the librarian. She is a woman small in frame, large in presence, with silver hair braided down her back like a bright river. She wears a sweater the color of pine bark, her hands ringed by the delicate shadow of ink, faint, as if a story had taken her fingers in its own. "You've brought the winter in with you. We'll find it a blanket." You smile, and she leads you through the aisles. Here are novels with cloth covers, their edges soft from decades of hands. Here are atlases that fold out wide enough to be blankets. Here are tiny poetry books that fit into a mitten. The librarian chooses a volume without a jacket. Plain brown cloth, a simple title pressed in gold, The Lake in Winter. She opens it to the middle and reads a passage in a voice that moves like the line of a skater across ice. Steady, clean, graceful. The words describe moonlight on frozen water, how it makes a path you could follow if you were brave or tired or in love. The words feel like stepping stones in the dark. Your mind steps from one to the next, the water underfoot calm, cold, and trustworthy. She closes the book and places it gently in your hands. "This one likes to be borrowed on nights like this," she says. "Take it down to the shore. It prefers to listen while you read. You promise to bring it back before the thaw." Outside once more, the cold kisses the edges of your ears, then becomes a familiar companion. You move toward the lake, guided by the sound of the breeze and the pale path of snow between lanterns. The trees along the shore hold small pockets of night in their branches, and the ice is a quiet plain, unbroken except for a line of lanterns someone has set along the edge, each sheltered by a glass chimney. Their flames lean a little with the wind, then straighten, patient, kind. You find a bench that faces the water. You sit. The bench is chilled, but your body warms it quickly, and you feel the slow transfer, heat from you to wood, from wood to air, from air to the long listening night. You open The Lake in Winter and begin to read aloud, one paragraph, then another, your voice a calm thread stitching you to the water's edge. The lake answers with little sounds, a distant ping as the ice settles, a soft hum of wind passing its long hand over the frozen surface. A pair of skates whisper by a few minutes later, so fine they look sifted. The moon is late tonight, biding her time behind the ridge. You can feel her waiting there, gathering silver to pour. When she does lift herself above the trees, her light spills like milk across the lake, and for a moment, you are sure you can see footprints in it, as if someone walked on the moonlight itself. On the next page of the book is a simple illustration of a hand cupping a candle flame to shield it from the wind. The caption reads, "Light is a small animal. Hold it gently, and it will stay." You close the book and rest it on your lap. You do not need the words for a while. The world is speaking gently as it is. After a time, there is no rush here. Time has unknotted its hurry. You rise and follow a path along the shore, where the birches lean in a white row like careful listeners. Here and there, small houses peep from the pines, their windows square and kind. You come to one with a wooden sign shaped like a kettle, "Wayfarer's Rest." Smoke winds from its chimney, and in the window, a small wreath of cedar is hung with 3 dried orange slices that glow like little suns. Inside, the inn is warmth made visible. A long table runs down the center of the room, and on it stand a row of mugs, each different. One chipped blue with a white rim, one speckled gray like stone, one with a painted fox curled asleep. The owner looks up from the hearth, where a pot hangs over steady coals. He is broad-shouldered, bearded, with eyes the color of winter rivers. "You've brought a night appetite," he says, pleased. "We have soup that knows all the good stories." He ladles a bowl of root vegetable stew and sets it before you with a slice of bread warmed on the hearthstone. The stew tastes like gentle earth, like patience, like the sweetness under things, carrot, parsnip, onion softened to a kindness you can sip. The bread has a thin, crisp shell that yields with a sigh. At the far end of the room, a traveler in a gray coat sits by the window, cupping his mug in both hands. On the bench beside him, a violin rests in its case. He nods in greeting and lifts the lid. A minute later, a slow tune unfurls into the room, easy and spare. It is a winter melody, made of long notes with room to breathe between them. You don't recognize it because it is not a song you hear. It is a song you remember, like something your bones knew already. Conversation slows. A woman at the big table wipes her hands on her apron and simply listens with her eyes closed. Even the fire leans toward the music. When the last note fades, it leaves a warmth behind it that is larger than the sound itself, the way a hand leaves warmth in the place it rested. The violinist smiles without needing words. You finish your stew, thank the innkeeper, and step again into the cold, which feels now honest and friendly, like a dog that has decided you are part of the pack. The lake road bends and carries you to the far end of the village where the windmills stand, 3 of them, old and wooden, their blades still in the hush of night. Between them, a small chapel keeps the shape of a lantern, white walls, a little steeple with a bell you cannot see but can imagine. The door is open. Inside, the air is cool and smells of wax and pine. Along the side walls, niches hold candles, each with its own small geography of melted wax, drips and ridges, like tiny mountains and rivers frozen in time. No one speaks here. You don't need to. Your footsteps on the stone are soft and round. At the front, Instead of pews, there are thick woven rugs and low benches with knitted blankets folded over them. You sit, and the quiet is not empty. It is full of all the resting hearts in the village, of all the stories that have come here to set down their burdens for a little while. You close your eyes and let the quiet lay its hands on your shoulders. Your breath follows it. In, out, slow, even, like a tide turning. When you open your eyes again, the bell in the steeple dongs a single low note. Outside, the moon has climbed higher and the snow has deepened. You pull your scarf close and step back into the soft-spoken night. Past midnight, and still the village is awake in its gentle way. In one house, a lamp burns in an upstairs window. The shadow of someone sewing moves back and forth across the curtain. In another, the blue flicker of a late kettle suggests a cup being poured for a returning friend. A fox crosses the lane, tail a red brush against the white. It pauses, glances at you with eyes that both know you and do not, then trots on, precise, unhurried. You find yourself back at the lakeshore, drawn to the quiet like a thirsty person drawn to water. A small boathouse sits halfway along the dock, its door ajar. Inside, it's warmer than you expect. A stove ticks softly as it cools, and a row of skates hangs on pegs, each pair paired with a neatly wrapped scarf. On a work table, a ledger lies open, the last entry written in a careful hand. Borrowed, 1 pair, size 7. Returned, with tail a red brush against the white. It pauses, glances at you with eyes that both know you and do not, then trots on, precise, unhurried. You find yourself back at the lakeshore, drawn to the quiet like a thirsty person drawn to water. A small boathouse sits halfway along the dock, its door ajar. Inside, it's warmer than you expect. A stove ticks softly as it cools, and a row of skates hangs on pegs, each pair paired with a neatly wrapped scarf. On a work table, a ledger lies open, the last entry written in a careful hand. Borrowed, 1 pair, size 7. Returned, with thanks. You choose a pair that fits and lace them snug, feeling the calm attention of the act. Pull, cross, pull, tie. Outside, the ice welcomes you with the faintest whisper. Your first strokes are tentative, then longer, then smooth. The world simplifies. The edge of blade to ice, the steady push, the gentle glide. Your breath becomes rhythm. Your shoulders drop. The moon lays a white path before you, and you follow it, not to arrive anywhere, but to move inside a moving piece. You skate until your cheeks are pleasantly chilled and your legs hum with a comfortable ache. When you return the skates, you notice a small tin of cocoa on the shelf and a note, for skaters after midnight, help yourself. You warm milk on the stove until it shivers at the edges, then whisk in cocoa until it goes glossy and dark. You sip it by the open door, looking out at the wide quiet. The cocoa tastes like the kindly part of childhood, like mittens on a radiator, like a promise kept. Near the horizon, a thin blush begins. It is subtle at first, so that you wonder if the color you see is only the wish for color. But it grows, pearl, then pink, washing the underside of the clouds. Dawn is beginning to lean its shoulder against the night. You take the path that rises behind the boathouse, up through a stand of firs to a small clearing with a bench carved from a fallen trunk. From here, the whole village lays like a quilt, Squares of field and patches of dark spruce, the river a gray ribbon, the lake a sheet of pale steel, the houses scattered like small, careful stitches. The sky lightens with both hands, and the first bird of morning tries a few soft notes, surprised to hear itself. You sit and watch the day assemble itself. A distant barn door slides back with a wooden sigh. A rooster, more dignified than loud, clears its throat. Smoke thickens from a chimney and thins again. Somewhere, a sled squeaks across packed snow. Footprints appear where you didn't see anyone walking. Then you see them. A pair of early risers, their heads together, carrying between them a basket covered with a clean cloth. The cloth lifts at a corner in the breeze, and you glimpse oranges bright as marigolds. You marvel at the small abundance of ordinary things. When the sun finally tips over the low ridge, it is not a shout, but a blessing, warm across your face, turning every snow crust to a faint glitter, edging the roofs in gold, showing how the ice holds last night's moonlight even now. Like a memory it will not lose quickly. You breathe in. The air tastes like beginning. Down in the square, the day yawns itself awake. The baker sets out a tray of morning rolls in the window. You swear you can smell the butter from here, though it might be your appetite. The librarian props the library door with a wedge of wood carved in the shape of an open book. The innkeeper shakes a small rug and laughs as a gust of snow leaps up and becomes a brief, startled cloud. You rise and make your way back down the hill. Everywhere, the snow underfoot sings that small, steady song. Crunch, crunch. When you pass the bakery, the bell tinks as if it recognizes you now. The baker, already flour-dusted, lifts a paper cup of hot cider in your direction without asking. The steam carrying apple and clove, welcome and wakefulness. You wrap your hands around it and feel how heat travels through skin to bone. Across the lane, the children from last night have built a low fort. Their dog, wearing a red scarf, sits inside, wearing a look of complicated bravery. He's guarding the cinnamon rolls, one child explains solemnly, from marauding grandfathers. Ah, you say, the fiercest kind. The dog thumps his tail and accepts a pat on the head as if you have just signed a treaty. You return the lake in winter to the library with a note tucked inside, only a sentence, but the kind that means more than it says. Thank you for lending me the quiet. The librarian reads it and nods as if she has been told something she already knew, which is the best kind of truth. By midday, the sky is the blue of enamel tins, and the cold, though steady, has softened its edge. A group of neighbors stands by the frozen edge of the lake, pouring hot chocolate from a dented thermos into metal cups. Someone begins to tell a story about the winter the lake sang like a wail all night long. We thought it was the ice, she says, eyes bright, but perhaps it was the lake remembering the sea. People smile and look out over the ice as if it might answer. You walk the perimeter slowly, letting the day pass through you the way light passes through a glass of tea, gathering color, then clearing again. You pause to watch a pair of woodpeckers trading large trunk, their small bodies braced, the sound of their tapping a polite knock at a door that will always open. You find a garland of dried cranberries looped around a fence post, the red beads like punctuation in the white paragraph of the world. As afternoon leans toward evening again, the sun slides low, and the shadows lengthen into friendly corridors. The inn's lanterns pop into bloom one by one, and the village begins to carry its warmth into its windows once more. You make your way back to the hill where you first stood the night before. From here, you can see your whole walk drawn in light and memory. The bakery's glow, the library's hush, the lake's silver path, the boathouse door, the chapel's stillness, the bench with its wide view. Each place feels both complete and waiting, like a page marked with a clean ribbon. You stand for a long moment. The air is colder now, a brighter kind of cold that clears the mind and loosens the tightness behind the eyes. You inhale, and it lifts you a little. You exhale, and something within you unclenches and sits down. Snow begins again, fine, steady, the kind that lands and stays. You watch it accumulate on fence rails and the pine's broad shoulders. The village seems to exhale too, an animal settling into its den. Somewhere a door closes with a wooden comfort. Somewhere a kettle finishes its climb to a boil and gives a small, triumphant hiss. You turn at last and start down toward the square, toward the smell of supper, toward the company of lamplight. Behind you, the lake holds the day gently on its surface until the first stars ask it to fold that light away. And as you go, you feel the winter evening cozy itself around your shoulders like a shawl. Your steps find again that easy rhythm, crunch, crunch, and your breath finds the deeper version of itself that it sometimes forgets in busier seasons. Nothing is urgent here. The village keeps watch. The lake keeps counsel. The snow keeps secrets, soft ones. And the night, when it arrives, will be kind. Until then, you are simply walking, heart warm, hands warmed by the cup the baker pressed upon you as you passed her door again. Cider now, steaming, tasting faintly of clove and orange and something like hope. You sip, you walk. The bells in the chapel lift 3 small notes into the air like birds. Windows brighten as you near them, and the world, as if in gratitude for your slow attention, gives you one last gift before you step inside. A fox track, perfect and new, crossing your path like a line of ellipses, promising that even in the deep of winter, the story continues softly